Welcome. Today, we're going to try and decode the incredibly complex world of homeopathy. I mean, think about it. You've got thousands of remedies and even more symptoms. So how on earth does a practitioner find the one right match? Well, that's what we're here to do. We're going to break down the method they use, and we'll use a specific group of remedies, the acids, to guide us.
You know, this quote from our source text, Allen's keynotes, really gets to the heart of the problem. These source materials, the Materia Medicas, are just massive. They're so dense. So the real question is, how do you find any clarity in all that complexity? That's what we're going to try to figure out together. So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about decoding the system in general. Then we'll zoom right in on our case study, the acids. After that, we'll explore what's called the patient's constitution, and then trace an ailment back to where it all started. From there, we'll build a complete mind and body portrait, and finally, we'll see how all of those pieces click together to solve the symptom puzzle. Sound good? Let's get started.
All right, so first things first, why is a guide like Allen's keynotes even necessary? What is the problem it's trying to solve? Let's take a look. Okay, try to picture a massive library. But in this library, every single book is for one remedy, and each book is filled with thousands of possible symptoms. That's basically a materia medica. And as our source points out, the way they're arranged can feel totally random or haphazard. So the challenge is just huge. How do you find the one right answer for your patient in that giant sea of information? So, to see how practitioners start to bring some order to this chaos, let's move on to our case study. We're going to focus on a particular family of remedies known as the acids. One of the first things practitioners do is use remedy groups to start narrowing things down. Think of these as categories of remedies that all share some basic foundational characteristics. For this explainer, we're just going to focus on two examples from this acid group that are mentioned in our source, benzoicum acidum and muriaticum acidum. Now, here's a really crucial point in all of this. The analysis is all about understanding the person, not just the disease. And that whole process starts with something called the constitution. Let's unpack what that actually means. So the constitution is basically the patient's foundational profile. It's who they are at their core. It covers their physical appearance, how they react to things like heat and cold, that's their thermal relation, and even these deeper inherited tendencies, sometimes called a miasmatic background. It's really the baseline type of person we're looking at. And this is where it gets really, really interesting. Check this out. Even within the same acid family, you see two totally different types of people. On the one hand, benzoicum acidum is for a gouty rheumatic diathesis, which is a fancy way of saying someone has a deep-seated tendency for those issues. The source even links this to their past or inherited medical history, that miasmatic background we just mentioned. But then look at muriaticum acidum. It's all about physical appearance, black hair, dark eyes, dark complexion. This just shows you how specific and how different the starting points can be. Okay, let's build on that. So beyond who the person is deep down, homeopathy puts this huge emphasis on what actually caused their suffering. This is known as the ailments from principle. The logic here is pretty straightforward, like a clear chain of events. First, some kind of inciting event happens. It could be emotional, like grief or a big scare, or something physical, like an injury. Second, a very specific set of symptoms shows up after that event. And third, the whole goal for the practitioner is to find the one remedy that perfectly matches that unique cause and effect story. And this is just a brilliant illustration of that principle in action. If you look up the remedy causticum in our source, you see this whole list of possible triggers, ailments from long-lasting grief and sorrow, from loss of sleep, from sudden emotions, fear, fright, joy. So you see, the remedy isn't just for a random list of symptoms. It's for symptoms that popped up because of these very specific life events. Okay, so we've got the constitution, the person, and we've got the cause, the trigger. The next step is to map out all the specific mental and physical symptoms to build a complete picture of what's going on. This table from muriaticum acidum gives us a fantastic snapshot. You can see how the layers built. We start with the constitution we talked about, black hair, dark eyes. Then we add the mental state, irritable, peevish, disposed to anger, and then the physical layer, diseases that are asthenic, meaning really weak and debilitating, maybe with moaning or fretfulness. It's all about combining these different pieces into one single cohesive portrait. So we have the constitution, we have the cause, and we have the specific symptoms. For our final section, let's see how a practitioner weaves all of those threads together. And this is really where it all comes together.
Every single detail, seriously, from the person's hair color to the grief that kicked off their illness to the exact physical sensations they're feeling, every bit of it is a clue in a giant puzzle. The goal is never to just treat one symptom. It's to find that one single remedy that matches the complete, unique, and totally individual picture of that patient. Which, of course, brings us right back to the question we started with. If every tiny detail is a critical piece of the puzzle, and the Materia Medica has thousands and thousands of these clues, how is it even possible to find the right match in that overwhelming flood of information?
And the answer really lies in the method itself. You do it by solving the symptom puzzle one piece at a time. By methodically layering the constitution, the cause, and that complete mental and physical portrait, a practitioner can start to filter out all the noise and find that one specific key that's going to fit the lock. It's a process of bringing order to chaos, one clue at a time.